Hello and welcome to another screencast from the drama department at Heybridge High School. This one is focusing on using fear to structure your answer. Now, fear is a writing frame, much like P or peel, point, evidence, explain and link. But fear is much more suitable to drama. Now, fear breaks down into focus, evidence and explanation, acting and action, and then response at the end. And they break down like this. So the focus is the point of the paragraph, what it is you are writing about. The evidence and explanation provide the context to the examiner what it is that you are going to be talking about. So typically in there you're going to have an example of the focus. This often comes in the form of either a description of action or actual lines that the actor is going to say. And then a bit of context, an explanation of what is happening. So it might include motivation about what the character is doing, why they're doing it, what's happened before, and what response the character might be expecting from the other characters he is talking to. And then we move on to the action or acting, and that is a thorough description of what the actor is doing at that particular moment in time. The way they talk and the way they move and the way they interact with other characters. And then finally, the R is for response, and that is the response from the audience. Now, fear can be used for either writing about your own work, or it can be used about reviewing another piece of theatre, and there's just some subtle changes. So when you're writing about your own work, the action and acting part is obviously going to be about what you did, and then the response is why you did it and what kind of response you were hoping to get from the audience. Whereas if you're writing a theatre review, the acting and action is a thorough description of what the actors did on stage when you were watching, and then the response is largely your response to that, and really trying to make that link between their intended actions and your response to that. So I'm just going to take a brief moment to look at those four areas in a little bit more detail. So obviously, going back to the focus, this is the point of your paragraph. It really needs to be just really short and concise. 20 words, no more than that. It's really, really simple. The more focused your point, the more focused your focus is, the better your paragraph will be. You really want to just highlight very specific moments in a performance rather than to talk, generalise about it. If you can focus on specific moments, you can write in far greater depth and analysis rather than being general, which gives you too much to write about and you won't get time to write it. The evidence and explanation, alright, that's going to be about the double the length of your focus, and again needs to be as concise as possible. Always find a moment in the performances which you can really focus on. So go for the first line of your character, the first entrance of your character, and how and what you did to establish that character, or very specific moments, a moment of tension within the performance, a moment of comedy within the performance. Go for very specific moments, one lines, 2 or 3 lines of dialogue between two characters, one moment of action, rather than describing a whole scene. So be as specific as possible. And then going on to the action and acting, and that's going to be your longest. This is the best, most important bit. This is the bit that the examiner is most interested in, because this bit proves you know what you're talking about. This bit allows you the opportunity to use all those keywords, for movement and voice, to describe what you did or what the actors on stage did. And that needs to be as thorough as possible. Work your way through all those keywords, make sure you've described the action in as much detail as possible. And then the response, that ties everything up. And it's not as easy as it might seem, because you've got to tell us, as in the reader, or in most common case the examiner, the person who's marking you, what or how you thought the actor did in achieving his aims. So where he was using a specific keyword, why was he using it, and do you think he achieved it? If you're writing about your own performance, again, it's the same response. You're writing about how what you did and making a connection between what you did and what you wanted the audience to get from that. It's not specifically very easy. Now, I'm going to give you a quick example. This example comes from a GCSE question. It's a section C for AQA. So describe in detail how your chosen actor used vocal and physical skills to establish the character through their first appearance in the play. This could be, this is one AQA exam question, but this could be one of your paragraphs from the AS Unit 1 Theatre Review, if you wanted. So it could really be anything. So here's my question. Here's my response to it. So the first bit is that bit. So the character I'm going to focus on is Mickey, and how the actor made his first entrance on stage. Quite easy, quite quick, succinct, to the point. It tells the reader what the focus is. It's going to be Mickey, and the point of action that I'm going to analyse. So next section is then giving us the explanation and evidence. This is 2 paragraphs, 2 sentences. First of all, when we first meet Mickey, we see he's age 7 and runs onto stage with a toy gun, banging on his house, shouting, "Mother, will you open the bleeding door or what?" Full stop. So that's my example. That is the point in the play that I'm going to analyse. And then I've given a second sentence in that section. The actor, who is an adult, has to convey to the audience that he is a child who is poor, doesn't have a good education, has loads of energy. So that is my second sentence in that section, which is the explanation. So you've got 2 elements in there. You've got the evidence and the explanation of what that actor has to do. If you're writing about what you did, it's the same thing. You would say, when the audience first see Mickey, I am aged 7, I run onto the stage, blah. So that would be your evidence, and then your explanation. In doing this, I have to convey to the audience that I am a child who is poor. So you're just changing the wording to express that it is you instead of the other actor. And then we've got this big section here, which is all about what that actor did. So the actor ran across the stage with childish energy and a quick pace. His gestures and body language were large and exaggerated in an energetic way that is associated with children. His facial expressions were really active, and he wasn't looking around, or he was supposed to be. He was looking all around the set excitedly with his eyes wide open. He knelt on the floor to use levels to help communicate his age when his mother, Mrs. Johnson, opened the door. He spoke at quite a fast pace, and although he spoke in slang, he still managed to articulate his words properly so we could understand. He emphasized the word ma'am and what, perhaps to indicate that it is important to him. He spoke clearly and loudly, without pauses, and with an excited tone of voice. And if we just take that for a moment and just highlight all those key words, so we've got energy, we've got pace, we've got gestures, we've got body language, we've got energy again, we've got facial expressions, we've got eye contact, because that's talking about eye contact, it doesn't say it explicitly, we've got levels, we've got pace again, we've got slang, we've got articulation, we've got emphasis, we've got volume and pauses and tone of voice. And thinking about that one there for a moment, the word without, if you have chosen not to do something deliberately, you can mention it, because you've made a conscious decision not to do it. So in this case, the actor playing Mickey has decided to perform this without pauses, because he is a child and he's got lots of energy and he's running around, and the pauses would have would confuse that. So you can put things without pauses. And then finally we've got this last section. So in doing this, the actor managed to communicate Mickey's character really well. The mixture of his fast-paced movement, his excited facial expressions and use of levels all helped communicate his character's usefulness, interest and naivety really well. Similarly, his use of fast-paced speech, his choice of emphasis, on words and his use of slang also communicated from full background, little education, and a child of 7. So simply what's going on here is that you are linking essentially that section here with that section there and going into there, and just connecting the two together. So connecting the keywords with the explanation, the context. And so there is an example of a FEAR paragraph. Now that, in terms of AQA GCSE, that would be a good response. In terms of AS level, that might be one paragraph out of the several that you're going to write. So there we go. Good luck.